That's my secret, cat. I'm always angry.
Alright. I ran out of patience. On the roost!
Hey everyone, Captain, big fan of Spider-Man.
Avengers! Assemble.
Hello, Peter.
Hello and welcome to the Infinity Saga and Beyond MCU fan podcast. My name is Jordan Wiegand, and with me today is Jack Sewpersaud. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing very good, especially after seeing a specific movie this past week,
that we're going to be talking about here. So I gave my, instant thoughts on Thursday after I got home, and I stayed up late recording that and editing it, putting it all up. I was just so hyped after the movie. And then I was like, you know what? I'll do an instant reaction, and then I'll do, like a full breakdown with Jack. And then I'm also doing another breakdown with Logan on Tuesday. So we're doing like 3 podcasts about this. And maybe I'll revisit it after I do my next viewing of the movie too, if there's any other thoughts I have, like a final thoughts or something. I don't know, but lots of Spider-Man content coming our way here. We're talking Spider-Man No Way Home, which is blowing up the box office right now. But just I want to get your thoughts, not about the movie yet, but just kind of like, what was the experience like? What was your theater like? Because when I went, this was the most crowded my theater had been in a long, long time.
Yeah, well, I went at 3 p.m. on Thursday, so it wasn't completely full. Like the entire front section still had a lot of seats available, but the crowd was definitely up and ready for it. A lot of great audience reactions in there. I will say, I think that there were more for Endgame and Far From Home. Because Far From Home, I saw that at 11 p.m. or something like that on opening night. So that might have something to do with it, but it was still a very excited crowd.
Yeah, I was going to say the first night, my crowd was not as, I guess, rowdy as they were on the Friday night showing, which I thought was actually interesting because usually the Thursday night is like the most hardcore of the fans. So I did find it interesting that was the case. My second crowd was better, but none of them were like obnoxious. Like I saw a spoiler-free reaction on Twitter that showed like the fans when 2 certain people make their appearance in this movie. So it's like muted. It's not showing the screen, showing the fans or whatever. But they were like jumping up and down like they were at a sports game. Like they were out of their seats. They were like, ah, ah. And it was ridiculous. Very glad I was not in that theater because I want to be able to hear what's going on after. Right. So sometimes people take it a little too far. But it is a fun experience, And this was like the best experience though since Endgame, I think, for me, in a theater. Though I mean that's not much to say because, less than a year after Endgame was the shutdown, so we haven't really had, and these other MCU movies have not been event films the way that this one was. So kind of tough to say, but we're gonna start with talking about the box office here. At the time of the recording, it's projected to make $253 million opening weekend, which, yes, is more than like any film all of last year or this year. Some projections later in Sunday evening are showing that it may beat Infinity War's opening, which was $257 million. It has 587 worldwide. And its preview showing for Thursdays was like the third highest. I think it was just behind Endgame and maybe Infinity War, or it was definitely behind Endgame. It might be second highest. I think it passed Force Awakens preview showing. It's got an A+ cinema score. For people that don't know, cinema score is like this. Exit poll. People tell you if they like it or not when they exit the movie. The other MCU movies that have an A+ are Avengers, Black Panther, and Endgame. They're the only 3 films with the A+ cinema score until Spider-Man. This is the best live action Spider-Man. They've never got higher than they never got to an A+ before. And Spider-Verse has an A+ as well. So in really good company, it's Rotten Tomatoes. Audience score is at 99% after 10,000 verified ratings. And its critic score is at 94%, which I think is the highest Spider-Man live action Rotten Tomatoes score. This thing is just, it's like sustaining itself at this point, right? Like it is like, it's kind of like Doc Ock's machine in Spider-Man 2. You know, it is just starting to go nuts at this point. The number keeps climbing. I wonder what it would have done without COVID. Though some people think maybe COVID helped it in the sense of people wanting that feeling again, wanting to get out to the theater again, that maybe that's helping. Some people that say without COVID, this is beating Endgame. I doubt it. Honestly, Endgame was a huge buildup. And I understand this is a buildup as well over the course of 20 years instead of like the 10 that Endgame was at that point. But I think it has some things going for it. It's more accessible than Endgame in the sense that you only need to know that Peter Parker's identity was revealed, and really you can watch this movie. If you're familiar with Peter, Andrew and Toby, then you're familiar with it. If you're not familiar with them, it still makes sense. There's alternate versions in this, right? Like there is nothing, I guess that would make it kind of like unapproachable for a casual fan. And in fact, like my cousin who went and saw it has not seen, like, I don't think any of the MCU movies. He's not an MCU guy, but he likes Tobey Maguire and Doc Ock and Green Goblin. So he went for this and he loved it, you know? So it's appealing to so many people that I think that's where it can kind of beat Endgame in that sense of, so sometimes people think, well, maybe that's why they think it would be able to pass Endgame, is because it's more like approachable. You don't have to see as many films, I guess. But and you get the MCU fans, you get the non-MCU fans in here for this. If they're just regular Spider-Man fans or whatever, they're an Andrew Garfield fan, they're a Tobey Maguire fan, they come in and see this. But anyway, it's just wrecking the box office right now, and it shows that, you know, people were waiting for a good movie to, like, not a good movie to come out, because there's been good movies that have released this year, but they were waiting for some sort of film that they felt in the time of COVID that they were going to only go to the theater maybe once this year. They were all saving it for Spider-Man, apparently. What is your thoughts on the performance of this as you didn't pay any attention to the numbers until right before we record it? I will say I'm a number guy when it comes to box office. I'm on the box office subreddit all the time. I'm always tracking this stuff. So it really intrigues me. So I want to get your thoughts on the box office.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. I don't think that, you know, it's possible we might not see another movie reach these kinds of levels for some time, honestly. This is truly just an incredible showing for it. And, you know, a lot of it's that hype. A lot of it is the accessibility of it. But I think, you know, the big thing about it is it built on itself in that, you know, this movie is arguably one of the most hyped up movies of like the past few decades. You could argue maybe Endgame had more, maybe Infinity War had more, but I think that this definitely is up towards the top of those movies. And as a result, you know, it's just going to keep growing in terms of those numbers, because it's so rare, I think, that a movie has such hyped expectations and meets it. But in my opinion, this exceeded those expectations that I had for it. So I think that that's the biggest thing about it. Like, you know, this not only met every expectation I had for it, but passed it in more ways than one. So I think that just speaks to, you know, why this is going so well. And I think that, you know, I'm probably going to see it at least another 2 or 3 times before probably streaming it another dozen times or so, because this, so I guess a spoiler for in case we end up talking about this, but this is in my top 3 MCU movies of all time at this point. Like that's how good this movie is for me. It's in my top 3 after seeing it once, and I've seen all of these other ones like 4 or 5 times at least. So
yeah, I have I updated my listing too after thinking about it for a bit before seeing it the second time. But I have my top 3 is Endgame, Infinity War, and No Way Home. So those are my top 3 MCU films, and it goes Civil War, Avengers, Guardians. You know, so those are my top 3 there. I took a screenshot of Spider-Man cinematic ratings, and it's up there for that too. It's number 1. And then I have Spider-Man 2, Spider-Verse, Homecoming, Spider-Man, Far From Home, Amazing Spider-Man, Spider-Man 3, Amazing Spider-Man 2. It's my ranking so far. So, I mean, this immediately shot up there, and I think, you know, this could have gone all wrong. When you look at what, you know, let's take even the Toby and Andrew out of it, all right? And let's say it's Spider-Man versus 5 villains. And you have the common complaints of Spider-Man 3 being that they had Sandman, New Goblin, and Venom. And that they didn't balance those well. Then you have Amazing Spider-Man 2 having Electro and New Goblin, you know, the hairy version of Goblin and that too.
Yep.
And people said it didn't work. They fit too many people, and Rhino, and that they fit too many people in there. Rhino, for me, I don't even think you can count him. He's in the very beginning and the very end. He's not even a villain. But this one has 5 villains. And then when you throw in Strange, Ned, MJ, Aunt May, Peter, he's on the run. Then you throw in Toby and Andrew. You're like, that's too many characters. I worry about how they'll handle this because every Sony film that's done this has failed. And this is where you have the Feige effect and the Marvel Studios effect that all 5 villains got their moment. I mean, I really feel like they did. They leaned on the stronger villains, gave them more time, but the other villains got their perfect amount of time. And then Toby and Andrew got their perfect amount of time. And, you know, and it still felt like Tom Holland's film. Like, he wasn't overshadowed. Like, it really was like they somehow made it work. And, you know, I'm not sure how many people listened to when I first started this podcast, but I started covering. One of my first episodes was talking about them bringing Alfred Molina back and Jamie Foxx back. And at that time, I believed that they were pulling a J.K. Simmons and saying they just really like these two in those roles, and they're going to, you know, it wasn't going to be a multiverse film. Everybody, as soon as they said Doctor Strange was in it, was thinking multiverse film. And I was more like, it doesn't mean that. It could be that he's trying to get people to forget that he's Spider-Man, like A Brand New Day or One More Day, whatever the storyline is called.
Yeah, One More Day. Yeah.
One More Day, right? And then after that's Brand New Day, and then, you know, they have another storyline after that that kind of takes some cues from this. So I was thinking that's what it could be. And instead what they did was they married both of those ideas of the multiverse and the Brand New Day and One More Day. So what they did here was, instead of Mephisto being the one who did it, Doctor Strange does the spell. It breaks and it causes the multiverse event. And then at the end with the spell, it does that Brand New Day and One More Day storyline that way. So I was kind of right. but I was thinking like there's no way that we'll get all this stuff because it would just be too much to juggle. It might just be a storyline about him having to get people's memories kind of rewound. And instead they mixed the both together and it worked beautifully. I mean, it really was wonderful. And I'm happy I was wrong. But I am also happy I was a little right with the storyline, the spell there. Yeah, I mean, it really was like I feel like everybody had their time to shine. Even characters like Flash Thompson. I really felt like he had a good moment and a good few moments in this.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to see where it leads us going forward. Kevin Feige has already said that they're working on Spider-Man 4, and he said that he wanted to get that out there now so people don't panic about how after Far From Home, Sony tried to pull him. So it does seem like, that we are going to get more of this Peter Parker in the MCU. Because some people said that the ending sets him up to be removed from the MCU, and I don't really think so. I mean, it works even better now.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's kind of dive in. Are you ready to dive in with the main storyline here, or did you have any other thoughts before that?
I mean, I'll talk about them when we get to them, but there's some actor performances I definitely want to highlight eventually. But about the villain balancing thing, I thought it was really fantastic. Like, I thought they also balanced humor and the serious tones incredibly well. There's times in like Endgame, especially, where I felt like they kind of mixed up the balance at a few points in that movie, which would, kind of bound to happen over a 3.5 hour long movie. But still, I think that they hit it perfectly in this one.
Yeah, I think I think this is probably one of the best ones for a mix of comedy with the seriousness, and probably what Spider-Man really is. I mean, because Spider-Man is still a quippy character, and and all that. So what we get here, so let's go ahead and start. So we pick right up where we left off in Spider-Man Far From Home credit scene. In fact, the Marvel logo and all that stuff is going on while JJ is revealing that Peter is Spider-Man. So, he's going to jump down there and get MJ. She's starting to get surrounded here. And I really like this Karen lady that's like, oh, Spider-Man hit me. Did you see that? He hit me or whatever. But he just like gently pushed her out of the way to get out of there. But, they swing to Peter's house because they can't go to MJ's house because she thinks that her dad would hate him now after this reveal. Happy and May are in the middle of breaking up at this time. Or should I say May is in the middle of breaking up with Happy at this time. And, Peter gets MJ through the window, and we get them fumbling around in there where it really sounds like they're having sex.
Yep.
With the, even the stuff they're saying, like, I don't know where this goes, or, whatever. Like, some of the stuff they're saying, like, it's really funny. And then they walk in on them, and, he's changing out of his spider suit. And this is actually May and MJ's first introduction. That's pretty interesting, huh?
Yeah. Interesting way to get introduced.
I was like, why are they introducing themselves? Oh, they don't know each other? Like, I feel like they would have known each other, but I guess not.
Yeah, they didn't because, I mean, it is kind of weird because it's like, it's implied that there's about a week between when they come back from Europe and this moment. So
right.
It's a bit of an interesting one, but still, I guess not.
Yeah, pretty interesting. And then we had, we have the helicopters outside of the building. It comes on the news report, and then we kind of flash forward a little bit of time too, where it's just Peter and May sitting on the couch watching more of this stuff. And then the Department of Damage Control shows up and takes them into custody, and also brings in Ned and MJ. So we have these legal issues that start up here. And We have the interrogation where MJ is just like a boss here. She's just like, I want a lawyer. I want a lawyer. And seriously, people, don't think it shows that you've done something wrong. I listen to all these true crime podcasts and all that stuff. Definitely lawyer up, because they will twist your stuff. There's tons of people that get in jail, because they get broken and have to, they end up falling for whatever tricks that are used. So, it doesn't show any sign of guilt. That you're right. Ned falls for the tricks here. I love the guy who plays the agent here, actually.
Yeah.
When he's like, half of my guys are men in chairs,
Yeah.
And Ned just being like, no. And the way he set it up, too, where he's like, when MJ told you about Peter being Spider-Man, and he's like, no. I knew he was Spider-Man first. And I was his guy in the chair. And I helped him take on the Vulture. And then the guy's just like, oh, so you're his number one accomplice.
And then he's like, I'd like that to be struck from the record.
Yeah, it was so good there. And then you have Aunt May even kind of getting all like MJ in the other room there, where she's like, I know my rights. If you're not going to charge me with anything, we have to go. And we get the meeting with a lawyer who turns out to be Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock here. Spoilers for Hawkeye inbound here, too. So we have the D'Onofrio Kingpin in Hawkeye. We now have Matt Murdock from Daredevil as well. Just wonderful that they're both in the same week, just a day apart from each other, like, Wednesday to Thursday.
Timed perfectly, really.
Yeah, so it's either they did that for the why they did 2 episodes in a week, or it's because they didn't want to overlap with Boba Fett. I don't know. Probably both. But he's able to say, pretty hand waving, that Peter doesn't have any more legal issues. They don't have anything to really charge him with, because I guess Mysterio is not very a trustworthy source. They do capture the Stark tech, but he says he's a really good lawyer, and then he catches a brick that's thrown in the house, and Peter's just like, "Whoa, how'd you do that? I'm a really good lawyer." But the brick says, we believe Mysterio. So you kind of have these two sides: people that believe Peter and people that believe Mysterio. And they decide that they have to move places, and they're going to move to Happy's. But what was your thought about Matt Murdock as now you're watching Daredevil on Netflix?
Yeah, I thought it was a fantastic introduction, for a character that I know a lot of fans were really hoping would be in there. It was perfect as well, because I was looking into this, trying to learn as much about the character after seeing him in there. And I know he teams up with Daredevil, teams up with Spider-Man quite a bit in the comics. And I found a bit of interesting information that it's shown a few times in there that Daredevil's senses are a bit stronger than the Spidey sense. So, I think that kind of shows that he was able to react faster than Peter getting to there, because you see Peter setting up to catch the brick and everything, but it's just incredibly the delivery as well of the line. How did you do that? I'm just a really good lawyer. Just absolutely perfect. And my theater went crazy when this happened. Like there was like cheering as soon as he popped up, and part of me was like, yeah, he's probably going to be in here, but another half of me was like, surely Kevin Feige wouldn't reveal that Charlie Cox would be coming back to play Daredevil in the MCU eventually, this close to No Way Home. But
I think that's why he did it, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, because there's no reason to say that if you didn't already have him locked up at that point. So he would have had to have been in something soon. And at least it gave something to be shared in news during his press release, like his press conferences and stuff, that then ultimately didn't spoil anything. People were kind of already expecting it. Plus, to be honest, that leaked as well. So I'll share. I seen pictures of that dinner scene. The table scene was shared on Twitter and Reddit briefly. So I did see that. That was probably a few weeks ago. Though, there's rumors he was going to be in it, so I kind of figured he would. Though some of the rumors said he was going to be in more than one scene, and I just couldn't see that. I felt like it had to be. But do you remember in the Spider-Man trailer when we have the guy from Damage Control like slamming the stuff on the table, and everybody was like, "That's Charlie Cox's arms. That's Daredevil," and I was like, "No, that's the guy that is interrogating him. Why would he be smashing stuff on the table? Why would he be looking at paperwork if he's blind, right?" So I mean, like, it didn't make any sense. But ultimately people got what they wanted. They got Charlie Cox back. Now I wonder if like the fan reaction in like the theaters is like from both sides, like people that know he was in the Netflix series that are like, woo, and then just some people that are like, oh, that's Matt Murdock from Daredevil, like just thinking like comic book wise, or like, like I wonder how many people realize he's from the MCU already or not.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see. I mean, I know a lot of people really liked the Netflix show, so I think there's definitely a good mix in there, especially like seeing it on Thursday or Friday. Yeah, you're pretty much guaranteed that you're going to get like some fans with, knowledge of the comics to a certain extent.
Yeah, like my dad and mom saw it on Friday with me, and they both had seen the Daredevil show, so they were happy to see him back.
Yeah.
And then we have them moving to Happy's. We see that Happy has Dummy, Tony's old, I was going to say droid, but, robot. Happy is sleeping in the back room with Peter. We have Peter and MJ on FaceTime talking about how they're going to see each other the next day as they're getting ready for school. Just a fun little moment here with, with Peter and MJ, and then Happy waking up and being like, just get off the phone. We get it. You guys like each other. And we get them going back to school. And this is where we get, one of my favorite parts here is the guy who's just like, MJ, are you going to have his spider babies? Like, what a weird thing to say to a high schooler.
Yeah. Oh my God. I will say in that scene though, I really appreciated it because I think I heard it. I feel like I heard the do a flip guy from the Spider-Man.
It sounded like it. He's in Shang-Chi as well.
Yeah. I feel like
I
heard him in there. I swear I heard that line, do a flip. I really hope so. When I go back for a second watch of it,
it does sound like it.
I'm gonna listen for that for sure.
Because I heard it too, and I was like, I wonder if it's the same guy or not. But I love that they gave Betty the line, "Go get him, Tiger," or should I say Spider? Like, I just love the way she delivered that too. Like, it is very like news broadcaster like, but just really great to get the line, "Go get him, Tiger." And then, with it rhyming with Spider and them knowing he's Spider-Man, it just fit so well there. And I just love also these three teachers, Hannibal Buress, J.B. Smoove, and Martin Starr are just hysterical as Martin Starr has made the shrine to Spider-Man. You have Hannibal Buress is the conspiracy theorist. He's the gym teacher. I think that fits well with him too, because remember at the end in Homecoming when they're watching the stuff with Cap, right? And he's like, I don't know why we're watching this. Guy's a war criminal or whatever, because of the Sokovia Accords. But it's just funny that, he's somebody that'll just buy into, I guess, whatever is actually being presented out there, probably by JJJ, right? J. Jonah Jameson. He's believing that. And then you get, JB Smoove being like, hey, if you want to swing down the hall or crawl or whatever, like, feel free to do that. Like, I don't know. I just love that we got these three teachers again. This is their last scene. But I just love the three of them and being able to see them. It was great. I love Martin Starr too. Like, I was watching Far From Home the other night leading up to this, and him with his, wife having fake blip to leave him and stuff. It's just It's just so good, and his delivery is so good.
Yeah, he's brilliant in that.
He's great in so many things, but he's really great in this. Any thought about the going back to school here? We don't see a lot of it, right? We go right to here to the rooftop, but
yeah, I think like it's a really kind of powerful scene, kind of just showing how isolated Peter's group is of people at this point in time, right? Like, he's got his friends, and that's about it in this. Like, not many people are willing to go through him, but I do want to say the Flash scene in this too, where he comes up book. As his new book. That's incredible, and it's I think it's the perfect scene for this iteration of Flash. So I think it was a nice little addition there.
What I liked about it too is that Flash still stuck by Spider-Man's side here. We knew how much of a fan he was of Spider-Man, and I was waiting for them to do the easy thing of the bully finding out Peter is Spider-Man and him being like, okay, well then I'm going to believe Mysterio or whatever. But he, sticks by Spider-Man's side. He knows Peter, right? He knows Peter's not a killer. As much as he bullies Peter, he knows Peter. He's not, and he still kind of sticks by his side. He's actually going to help him later on in this, which I think is great too. And he still wants people to be, he now wants to be Peter's best friend, which is a funny turn here. And as much as people hated MCU Flash, I saw a lot of that, from like hardcore Spider-Man fans. I really like this iteration of Flash a lot because I think it shows a lot of growth. We get a lot more of this Flash. Flash in the Raimi films is like just that one fight, and it's and that's pretty much it. And then we get a pretty interesting Flash in the Garfield films as well. But again, that's only really one movie. But this one we've had for 3 films, and it just seeing their relationship evolve. And then we get them, applying for colleges and having their backup schools. And we kind of get this montage where even more weeks go by as, we were in the summer before, and now we're getting to the point of almost Halloween or past Halloween, at least. As he gets his last school on, which is MIT, and he goes to open it up at MJ's work, which is the coffee shop, donut place. And all 3 of them open it up, and all 3 of them have been declined because of the recent controversy. And I thought this was another good way of getting, Peter isn't just going to fix the spell for his own benefit. He's going to try to get that spell cast because it's affecting his friends who he feels like should not have to see their futures. It's their whole future. They can't go to college, any college right now, because of them associating with him. And, he sees the Halloween ornaments that are listed there, and they do look a lot like Doctor Strange. He gets reminded to go see Doctor Strange to see if there's anything that we can done. But, we have MJ and Ned, though, still sticking by his side, and I think that's why he really wants to help them. And they say they wouldn't change anything with what they've done. And we have Ned ripping it up, and then he's like, I got to actually show this to my parents. But I thought it was interesting because I was always wondering, like, how does he get to the point where he wants the spell? Is it just because it's hard on him? And it's actually just because of college stuff, which I think, he can handle the rest of the controversy going around him. He's fine with that. It's this stuff of, he had somebody throw a brick in his window and he didn't care, right? Like, he is really only going there because it's affecting his friends. And I think that's so Spider-Man.
Exactly. Yeah. I think, that's the first kind of decision in like a long series of them throughout this movie that shows the evolution of Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
Yeah, he's maturing. So we get him going to the sanctum. We have what, 2 students? Are they like students of the mystic arts or what?
I think so.
Shoveling?
Well, yeah, the students of the shovel at that point, I was going to say.
And we learned that Wong is the sorcerer supreme on a technicality because Steven was gone for 5 years.
I think that's kind of funny. I do kind of like that.
Yeah, it's great.
It also gives Strange some more motivation. Like people, I remember we talked about this when the trailer came out. Like, oh, Doctor Strange is way too arrogant. He would never do that spell. Kind of shows why he might be a little bit more arrogant as well. Being passed up for that kind of thing. So,
well, I like this. I like this because it plays out very differently from the trailers, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is not like in the trailers, they really play it as Wong saying, don't cast that spell. That spell is dangerous. And Steven like winking and being like, we're going to do it anyway. In this, it's like almost opposite. Like, not opposite, but I mean, like, this is a spell Strange has done multiple times for less important stuff. He even says, do you remember the party at Karmatal?
Yeah.
And he is like, no. He's like, exactly. Like, he used the spell for that. So he knows it can work. He knows he can do it. So it's not like why, Steven, are you doing this? It's, it's something he's done before. So it makes it like, no wonder he thinks he can do it. He's not just risking his life in the multiverse. He thinks, I've done this a million times. I'll do it for this kid. We helped him out. He's helped us. We're going to help him out. And also like how originally it starts with, Peter's not thinking about spells. He goes there for hey, can you go back in time and fix it? And it's like, no, I don't have the time stone anymore. And he's like, sorry, I, wasted your time. And that's what I think really gets to Steven is, Peter is always so apologetic, and so polite usually, sir. He's like, don't call me sir, call me Steven. And, oh, I'm sorry I wasted your time. And he's like, come on, let's do it. Let's do it. And they go down to the basement and they start casting the spell. And Peter keeps interrupting to add more people to remember. And I really like when he says happy and his Strange says, no, I'm annoyed. And he's like, no, happy. He's like a person, But I what I found interesting is that, tell me if people laughed at this in your theater, when Strange shuts the spell down and he says, Peter says something about Steven again, and he shuts him down and says, call me sir. People laughed in my theater both times for that. And I was like, I didn't read it as a comedy thing. This is him being really hard on Peter at this time. He was like, hey, don't call me sir, call me this. And then he kind of pulls it on Peter of, never mind, call me sir. You ruined this. And you are a child. So yes, call me sir. I felt it was more of like a sad thing than like a ha 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 like people were in my theater. Yeah,
I heard a few chuckles here and there for it, but it wasn't like a huge.
Oh, I got a huge laugh the second time.
For other scenes, I don't remember there being a huge laugh for that one.
Yeah, that got a really big laugh the second time, especially, and I was like, "Geez." But Strange gives Peter the idea to talk to the admissions lady. He's actually like, if you've already tried convincing them, he's like, what? I can try to convince them? And I love the way Strange says this too, of like, so instead of trying to plead your case, you try to have me like mess with everybody's mind in the entire world. And Peter's like, well, when you say it like that.
And then I
just
love
cut to the door.
Yeah, exactly. I love that cut right there. It's perfect. And then we get the scene where Flash helps Peter out. Peter is going to Flash went to the donut shop before with the MIT sweater, saying like being hyped up and then realizing no one else got in. So he's going to a mixer. Peter calls him and is like, hey, where's the MIT mixer? And Flash is like, oh, it's over here. And then he's like, great. Is there someone I can talk to? And he's like, yep, she just left. And the admissions counselor, he's gonna go find her on the way to the airport. And I also think it's really funny in this part, the reference picture that Flash sends Peter for this is a picture with a very not happy admissions counselor looking holding a copy of his book. So I think that's pretty funny. But we finally get.
And Peter was going to have to swing him to school for the next few weeks or whatever. But I think the plan's changed to where he's just going to tell everybody he's his best friend.
Yep, exactly. Which is exactly what Flash wants anyway. So,
yes. Yeah. He's like, you know what I want.
Yeah. I think that's funny. And it plays into like he's supposed to be a bully, but he's really just a fan of Spider-Man. And I think it fits his character so well. But then we finally get to the much anticipated bridge scene.
Yes, and he goes and knocks on the car door for the admissions lady. He's got his wrinkled suit on. He's trying to talk. He says MIT is dumb, and she's like, this is not going well. You haven't prepared this. And then his spider sense goes off. And we start getting people running from their cars. He jumps on top of her car, and we start seeing Doc Ock's arms come through, and it's a great entrance. And when we saw him get to the bridge, I was like, oh my goodness, we're already at the bridge scene? I was like, this movie is flying. It really does. Like, it just moves. That whole opening is like boom, 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 boom. And we get Doc Ock saying, hello, Peter. And I love that they didn't spoil this reaction because I think it's a great reaction where, maybe they did. Maybe they showed it in the scene. I'm not sure. Did they show it in that bridge scene?
They showed it in that scene, yeah.
Either way, it's really great. When he waves and he's just like, do I know you?
Yeah.
And then this was what I was wondering. How much are they going to reference the universe and movies that these villains come from? And they do it a hell of a lot, and they do it so well. His first thought is, what did you do to my machine? Mm-hmm. The power of the sun in my hand. Like, all these quotes and references, I was like, this is great. I can't believe I'm seeing this. And, Peter's like, hey, if you stop, attacking people, I can help you find it. And, of course, Doc Ock doesn't believe this because he has this different relationship with his Spider-Man. And this whole fight breaks out, and the lady in the car gets stuck. She gets, the car gets kind of pushed to the thing, and she can't get out of the door. She also can't get out of the door because the Uber driver just leaves her, and the car has,
the Uber driver locks the door,
Yeah. And then I love, too, that Peter uses his iron spider legs, and Doc Ock just saying, looks like we have competition to his arms. That was just so good. And I was like, no wonder why they wanted to use the iron spider suit for this part, because it is perfect for this scene. Him going, hand to hand with, Doc Ock here with his arms. Peter goes to save the MIT lady. So this is why people can't judge stuff ahead of time. I'm not sure if you ever seen this, but when they released Empire, the magazine, released first photos, and one of the scenes is Peter running and Doc Ock is throwing the car at him. People are like, why is Tom Holland Spider-Man always running away from stuff? He's not as good as Toby. It's because he was running to save somebody.
Yeah.
The thing that Peter always does.
Yep.
And I love this. When I was doing these rewatches of the 5 other films before this for the other Spider-Man, I kept telling my wife, I was like, I want more swinging scenes, and I want him saving more civilians. We got a lot of that in Homecoming, didn't get a lot of that in Far From Home. And this one reminded me of in, Amazing Spider-Man 1, when he saves the boy, C. Thomas Howell's kid. When he saves the boy, Jack or Jake or whatever. In this, we get that one shot of the car getting thrown up, and it has the baby and the parents and him being able to save them. And I was like, this is what I wanted. Show me more of him saving just regular people like this even when they think he's a menace, and that's like classic Spider-Man, you know. And he saves them, he gets them back up, he lets them go, then he goes to try to save the MIT lady again. Doc Ock like hits him real hard with his arm too into a car, and Peter gets back up. Spider-Man always gets up, you know, and he goes and is able to save the woman from hitting the train at the bottom of her fall here. And then he has to leave her as he goes to keep fighting Doc Ock. This scene is just incredible throughout. And we eventually get Doc Ock saying some of the lines from the trailer, like, "You're not Peter Parker." And, he rips open part of the Iron Spider suit. And the part that is the mask has to go down to the chest to protect him from Doc Ock's pointy thing.
Yep.
We get the Iron Man tech, the nanotech, going onto the arms of Doc Ock's arms, but then it becomes like a Bluetooth device where now Peter has control of it. I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah. It was. I also think it's interesting because I saw a lot of theorizing about, when we see that in the trailer with the nanotech merging with Doc Ock's arms. Like, people are like, oh, when they cross over into our universe, their technology becomes newer and they're merging with the universe. And
nope,
no, not at all, not even close. But that's kind of the fun about theorizing, isn't it? Being right and wrong about things.
So then he, gets the lady safe with control of the arms. I love that she gets out and like assaults Doc Ock.
Oh yeah, that's hilarious.
And just as everything seems to be okay, we get the pumpkin bomb, we get Green Goblin appearing, and then we're back in the basement of Doctor Strange. That part the first time tripped me out. I was like, whoa, What are we doing? We were just about to see Green Goblin. And it works so well. Doctor Strange pulls him back. He captures Doc Ock. He already caught Lizard. And he gives Peter the part of his suit now that has the thing to shoot him into the prison, which I thought was really cool. And this is where we get told by Strange that everyone who knows Peter or Spider-Man in every multiverse is coming here due to the spell. That's what he contained, but a few of them slipped through here. We go find those ones that slipped through the cracks. And again, this works wonderful. I was wondering, how do you bring in how does messing with the spell just open up the multiverse? It shouldn't. But what I like is that they then made it a side effect of the spell going wrong. Okay, you want everybody to forget Spider-Man was Peter Parker? Well, now everybody that knows Peter Parker is Spider-Man is coming here. Like, it made it work for the reason why these people were here. It didn't feel shoehorned in. Like, it really fit, I feel like, the whole story of the movie.
Yeah, I
that's
agree.
what I was worried about. How do you justify bringing them in? And it fits perfect.
Yeah, I agree. We talked about the worry about balancing too many villains, but it's equally important if you're able to balance them all, that the reason for them being there is like at least plausible, right? Like, and I think they really did do a good job with that, and it makes sense. It's a concept people can relate to. Like, if you don't specify your wishes or whatever, like with a genie, it ends up having bad side effects, that kind of stuff. So it's something that anyone can kind of like be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So I think, especially with Endgame, I think like that got a little bit difficult to follow. Like, why is this time travel stuff working exactly? But, or at least to casual viewers of it. But this one, it's like, yeah, no, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's what I was always wondering. How do you justify all these people coming? He's trying to do a spell. It doesn't make any sense, but it's the way that they wrapped it in. And I felt like, when you read some of the theories online, or and even the stupid memes where everybody's like, oh, Wanda and Strange and Loki are messing with the multiverse. No, Wanda doesn't mess with the multiverse at all in her show. Can we drop that? Loki, yes, he opened up the way I see it, right, is if this movie took place before Loki, there would be no multiverse at all because we had the one timeline in Loki. It's because He Who Remains dies that allows the multiverse to grow, that then allows, when the spell goes wrong, for the multiverse to open. And Doctor Strange's not messing with the multiverse. He just had to try shutting down the spell because it's tough to cast it when somebody's talking. So I don't know. All these memes get on my nerves sometimes when they don't really take an effect or account like what's actually going on. And then we have Peter still has paint on his suit, so he's going to turn it inside out, which is how we get the black and gold suit. Peter brings Ned and MJ. We get the Scooby-Doo this shit stuff, which I think worked a lot better in this than the trailer. Because Strange is delivering it differently. He's not self-censoring, which I thought was weird when he says Scooby-Doo this crap. It works just so much better here.
Yeah. And I've got to say, the suit flipping it inside out looks incredible. Mm-hmm. I was, I'm a big fan of how it looks. It looks very much like, an early prototype of a Spider-Man suit, which I think looks just incredible. I always, in the Amazing Spider-Man game, I always would play in the black and gold suit as soon as I unlocked that, every single time. And I was just like, oh, this suit just feels right. I don't know why, but I love it, the aesthetics of it.
Yeah, and it looks, I will say it looks really great in the Spider-Man PS5 game. It looks so good. I was taking some screenshots with it the other day. Because it still has like the wires hanging off of it too, and that it looks really great. But yeah, so we get them all, Scooby doing it, and we are going to get Peter tracking down Electro, and he also runs into Sandman here, which I thought was great, having them both in one go. And Sandman actually helping Peter and being on Peter's side because of him thinking it is Peter from Spider-Man 3. Remember, at the end of Spider-Man 3, they're on good terms. So for him, this works out pretty well. Until he sees Electro get zapped back. Then he's starting to think he got murdered. He's not for it. But we have... what I liked about this, too, is that to explain him not being blue, it's like the electricity from this universe is different enough where it changes him again. And I thought that was good because I was like, how are you going to take the same one and make him not blue? Okay.
Yeah.
It worked here for me. It's just like, okay, the power here is different. That's all you need to say. And when you're dealing with stuff from different universes, like, you don't have to over explain anything. If you just tell me that, I'm like, makes sense. We're good, because, it makes sense. I mean, different power, whatever. So now he's got yellow electricity instead of blue, and he looks like Jamie Foxx instead of nerdy Smurf. Jamie Foxx or Smurf. Yeah. And then, Peter helps take both of them down. He's going to clean up his mess so he doesn't get blamed on it. And then we get Aunt May calling him, saying that one of the people he's looking for is there with her at Feast. Now, we get Norman before that arguing with his mask, and he breaks it and run off. And I will say, Willem Dafoe is fantastic. And I wonder if he had to rewatch Spider-Man at all, or if he just was able to slip back into it, because it seems so effortless for him.
God. That's one of the things I wanted to mention, and I'll mention it at several points in this, but Willem Dafoe in this movie killed it. Honestly, I think it rivals...
It's not the only thing he killed, but yeah.
Well, yeah. I think it rivals in terms of like comic book villain performances. I think it rivals Heath Ledger's Joker. I think it's that good. It's the first, like, Thanos felt threatening in the MCU, right? He felt like a big threat, and but this just felt like Willem
I'll tell
Dafoe
you
in this
why.
just felt maniacal.
I'll tell you why. Because Thanos had reasoning behind it.
Mhm.
He was ultimately looking for good, right? I
Yep.
am going to save resources. This is just Joker-ish deranged.
Mhm.
When he's getting punched and laughing, it is just so creepy.
Yeah.
And he just plays it so well. But you know, at this point, he's normal again, or he's back to Norman, and he's stealing donuts, and he's scared. He's wearing homeless stuff, which is going to look really good with the rest of his stuff later.
Mhm.
When they
Yep.
give him the purple hoodie, which works out perfectly for comic book stuff, like it's perfect. But Aunt May is telling Peter that it is his responsibility to help these people. He's lost, not just cosmically, but in his mind. And it's true. We know that from Spider-Man 1, that he had like two sides. Sometimes he was regular Norman, and sometimes Goblin took over. And I think that they explored that very well here. And I that's another part I really enjoyed about this, when I'm thinking, how are they gonna do this part? And then when he brings Norman back, and you have everybody start recognizing each other, was beautiful. It was like so perfect. That's what I was wondering. Are they going to you have him recognizing Octavius from before he was Doc Ock. You have Doc Ock recognizing Norman because they're contemporaries. You have Sandman recognizing them as Goblin and Doc Ock, and that they had died, right? Like that worked. You have Lizard recognizing Max Dillon from Electro, because they're from the same universes. You even have, and for people that don't know, they explain it here. And you also have Ned saying, "Oh, same universes." Like, it works if you don't know too, because like they're explaining it right here. But it's fun for people that have watched all these to be like, "Oh, that's so cool!" Like, they're actually interacting, they're actually recognizing each other. And we get, Doctor Strange saying, "Oh, good, you brought in another one." And he zaps Norman into the prison cell. And Peter's trying to plead with him that, no, look, if we can just, like, he wasn't evil at this point, like, we can try to, fix this. Peter learns that they mostly die from fighting Spider-Man. And
or they all do, right?
Sandman doesn't, so it is interesting. So they don't
Right.
all. But yes, all the other ones, I guess, have. Sandman is not. That's why Sandman doesn't care. He wants to go home to see his daughter. Like, he actually has no plan in this at all, and he doesn't even take the villain's side. His whole thing is just trying to get somebody to press the damn button the whole time. Yeah. That's all he wants. But Peter learns that they almost all die from fighting Spider-Man, and he's trying to stop Doctor Strange because of what Aunt May had told him. This causes the fight scene. This is where Peter steals the box, and we get, I really like too how he runs outside. He jumps onto the car, right? Or he tries to swing, gets cut down, stands on the car, and then gets taken right back in front of the building again. And he's just like, oh man. And you get Doctor Strange with, what they all do. The Ancient One did it to Hulk. She did it to Doctor Strange, but he like knocks Peter's soul out of the body. And I saw some people confused online with why Strange still couldn't get the box.
I think I got it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. But so in the comics, the Spider Sense is kind of framed as like a connection throughout universes. So it's not just in physical form, that it's not a biological thing. It's more than that. So it's just second nature, really. It's just immediate. It happens regardless of if Peter's there or not. So it's I think that shows like a really cool element of it. It's like an instinct. Exactly, it's just like,
Yeah, it's the spider sense. That's what I'm thinking it is too. It's just the spider sense being like, nope, you can't get it. Because the first time I watched it, I was like, what is the explanation here? And then as I just thought of it more, I was like, oh, it's just his spider sense going off.
Yeah.
You know, he's like, the spider sense is protecting him at that point while he's not there.
Yeah, and then we see Peter swim back into his body.
Yes, yeah.
which is good.
And now he says it's like really cool, but don't ever do that again.
Yeah, yep. That's the Spider-Man quips we were missing from the first two movies. Yeah.
And then we have him, you know, swinging away. We get the cloak getting on him and trying to fight with him. Looked like a nice little thing too when you see, you know, what if and he's wearing the cloak. You know, like this is funny to see him like fighting the cloak here. And then we have Strange putting him in the mirror dimension. And them doing the fight. They're on top of the subway car, doing all this great stuff. But what I like about this is how Peter solves this. Peter solves it. He realizes that this mirror dimension is actually just math. It's just geometry. He recognizes some of the spirals, and he just is able to, and, you know, this is a Spider-Man line here, too. You know what's better than magic? Math. You know, and he just was able to get the box and to get the sling ring from Strange. Pretty roughly. Strange says, ow. And then he leaves them in there, which was great. And, you know, he gives Ned the ring and he gives MJ the box. And he's like, you're not going with me. If anything happens, it's your job to press this and send them back home if they act up. Mm-hmm. And, you know, he's going to go fix the villains at Happy's. I thought it was interesting how some of the villains didn't really seem for it. Some of them did. And we get the best line here too. And I knew this was coming. As soon as they cut to Goblin. But when Norman says, you know, I'm something of a scientist myself, that got the biggest applause and laughter in my first showing. All right.
Yeah, it got quite a bit in mine as well. Yeah.
And I had to explain to my wife afterward. But because she had seen the first one a while ago, she didn't rewatch it with me this time. But she's not a big Tobey Maguire fan. She says he has no emotion. I have to keep telling her it's not true.
In the original ones, I can kind of see it.
I can see what she means, but he's just playing like it's how he's mild mannered. Like when he's pissed off and he's sad, you can tell in those movies. But he's more of like a mild mannered Spider-Man. She likes Andrew Garfield though. He was great. But so they go and they fix Oc's inhibitor chip, and this is another one of those things that I was like, this is a perfect reference to the previous trilogy. You know, having this, you know, that they're just going full on in. Okay, he has a chip here that was busted. Like, if you're a fan of the original trilogy, you understand what's going on. And it's explained to you if you don't. You know, oh, this thing was supposed to be controlling his arms, but instead it broke and the arms are controlling him. Boom, done. And how they start to take the power from Electro. They put the thing on him. And Electro doesn't want to go back to being a nobody, which is why he is really the one that's really pushing the most to not follow this stuff. He doesn't want to go back. And then when Doc Ock gets fixed, it's just really great acting by Alfred Molina. And then, you know, the scare, too, of him maybe being dead, you know, for those few seconds where everybody's like, and Peter's like, Doc. And now I know why people said that he would be a good Marty McFly. Hearing him say Doc like 5 times, I was like, I get it.
Yeah.
And then we get Doc Ock saying, you know, how does it feel, Norman? You're about to feel whole again, you know? And the way Willem Dafoe can just on a line, the way he delivers a line, you're like, okay, he's Goblin now. And he does. Mm-hmm. He says something there, I forget what it is, that is like, that he's Goblin, and you can just tell by the way he's talking. And then we get the whole scene where Peter's spider sense is going off, and it's this tense moment where, I mean, even I sitting there had no idea what's going to happen. You know, it's a very tense moment. You're like, what is he? Who's doing it? And you know, you even get what, Sandman or Electro is like, why are you looking at me like that? You know, like
Yeah.
they're all on edge here. And then when he just webs Norman's hand to dummy, and you get, you know, Norman saying that's a neat trick. And then one of the characters calls out something about Norman, and his line of just Norman is on sabbatical.
Yeah. Oh my
it's
God.
just great. It is so good.
Yeah.
And then we get the whole fight breaking out here, but
Yeah.
just that tense moment with the Norman revelation and then Goblin coming out to play, like, it is beautiful.
Yeah, and we see him start to convince others about this. And
These are gifts, not curses, right? Yeah.
No, these are curses, not gifts, I think, right?
Well, no, he was saying that these are
yeah.
gifts, not to be cured. Yeah.
My bad. Yes. And it's also worth mentioning at this point in time, we have J. Jonah Jameson outside
Yes.
of the condo because he followed Spider-Man and Aunt May in the feast truck that also the Lizard is in at this point in time.
Yes, he did not want to go in for whatever reason.
Yeah, which is interesting. And we also but then, Goblin gives a bit of a speech, inspires Electro to
take the thing off with the
yeah.
the last beep is about to
right.
go.
Yep. And just everything just breaks out then.
Yeah, Electro starts fighting Doc Ock, I guess, trying to break his inhibitor chip again. Peter starts fighting Goblin. Sandman and Electro also leave. Lizard breaks out of the truck. JJ is like, what is going on here?
Did anyone else see that?
We get a brutal hallway fight here, which is just the choreography for this. You know, seeing Goblin versus Peter is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
We have Aunt May picking up the stuff to cure everybody else, and she's trying to run out. And JJ is trying to get footage of Spider-Man. You get Lizard throwing Peter back into the building to get his ass even more kicked by Goblin. And then Goblin, like, putting him through the floor. How many floors did they go through? A lot.
Oh, yeah, all the way down to the lobby.
Yeah, all the way down to the lobby. And that's right as May was about to leave. And just Goblin grabbing Peter's head and being like, now I'm going to fix you. Which I thought was an interesting way of saying that. Yep. And the glider coming through and knocking Aunt May just swift off her feet.
Yep.
Audible gasps in the theater. And, you know, he leaves, and before he leaves, he says, "You'll thank me later," which is just so Goblin.
Yep.
You know, and he rides out of there, and you have Peter, and May actually gets up and goes over to Peter.
Yep.
And she seems to be okay. She says she'll be fine. And, you know, Peter is still on the side of, I have to, like, kill these people or send them back home to die. And she says, no, like, you're still doing the right thing. After she is getting knocked off by Goblin, she still wants to help this person.
Yeah.
Which is just very Aunt May. And probably the most comic accurate Aunt May we've gotten in this trilogy so far. Because she's just been pretty much been jokes about how hot she is so far in this trilogy. You know, they really did her a disservice and I actually don't think Marissa Tomei is very happy. If you listen to some of her
she definitely
her interviews, they asked why she was in these movies. She's like, I listened to my agent for once and that didn't go well, or something like that. Like, she did not like it. But then Aunt May actually starts dying. She says she needs to catch her breath. She's bleeding really bad. And, you know, she dies and lets out one single tear. And Peter's broken here. And Happy drives up and he's sad, but he's getting arrested and he's telling Peter to run. Get out of there. And Peter's having a hard time leaving her there. But he does get free. And then the movie starts picking up even more pace. Here, as we get to MJ and Ned waiting for news, and they have the box. They hear about the casualty. I'm not sure. Did they hear it was Aunt May?
No, they didn't. No.
Yeah, so I'm trying to figure out how they know it was her. I guess because they know they went there, and obviously the villain would have killed her, right, instead of another villain. So I'm guessing that's how she's able, because they figure out enough when they talk to the other two Spider-Man and say that he's all, we're all he has left, So it seems like they kind of know somehow, but
yeah, or maybe it was on earlier. Maybe they said that casualty earlier,
Yeah.
Maybe that was a repeat of the newscast from earlier. Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
So Ned wants to find Peter, and he starts opening a portal saying, "Take me to Peter." And we see far away in an alley a Spider-Man in a suit, and you can tell by the big eyes that it's Andrew Garfield. Yep. And he starts running towards the portal. He comes in, takes off his mask, and everybody's like, "Ah!"
Yep.
And you get, MJ starting to hurl rolls at him. And they want him to prove that he has he's Spider-Man.
I love this. Like my theater erupted in applause, as
same.
I'm sure yours did as well.
Yeah.
But I love Andrew Garfield in this movie. It just shows that he is a fantastic Spider-Man, really. But he was just hurt so much by the writing in the Amazing Spider-Man movies. But I love just all of his scenes in this. Like, I have the spider sense, but not for bread. And
it's true, because even Peter doesn't have the, Aunt May hurls a banana at him far from home, and he doesn't react.
Yeah,
because it's not going to hurt him.
Exactly,
so and then
and then the climbing on the walls. And then
so he just wants to like touch the wall and hang for a bit. And he's like, "Is this enough?" And they're like, "No." And you get Ned's like grandmother being like, "Get him to get that cobweb over there while he's up there."
Yeah, and I think it was just fantastic, really. But that's not the only surprise we get in this, because Ned's like, "All right, got to keep trying until we find our Peter."
The real one, he says.
Yep,
and
the real
Andrew
one.
says, "Ouch."
Yep. And then we get a random guy off the street as
the youth pastor. Yeah.
Yep, the youth pastor. And again, applause erupts from every theater around the world as Tobey Maguire enters through the portal in, as I texted you, the most Tobey Maguire way I think could have been done. Like it was perfect. Like, I just came through the thing back there, and it's gone.
Yeah, wearing normal clothes, and I love that Ned's just like, "Oh, it's just a random dude," or whatever. Toby mentions now he's been looking for their friend since he got there. He recognizes that Garfield is not their Peter. He says, "Well, that's not your friend." Because obviously, for people that are confused, I saw some people on Reddit be like, "How does he know what his friend looks like?" His face is all over TV and stuff because they know it's Peter Parker. So they know. And you get both of them saying about, like, you get both of them echoing that they're Peter, but they don't go around broadcasting that they're Spider-Man because it would get rid of the, secret identity. And you get, Andrew being like, I just said that same exact thing, but they start debating, like, where would they find Peter at? For Toby, it was the top of the Chrysler Building. For Andrew, it's the top of the Empire State Building. This is the top of their school, is where they go. And MJ, I love that MJ and Ned just go right over and hug Peter. It's a really nice moment. And then you see the other Peters at the very top of the building, like a clock tower or a rotunda or something.
Yeah.
And they come down. Andrew's Peter tries to tell him that he knows what he's going through, and our Peter doesn't want to hear it. Though you think, he'd want to listen to himself a bit, because obviously they're Spider-Man, so they've probably gone through some stuff. Yeah. Toby starts telling a story of his Uncle Ben. And then Andrew Garfield's Peter starts telling the story of Gwen, and and how he started not pulling his punches. Even he was really brutal Spider-Man for a bit.
I did actually hear a theory about that line that I want to get your quick opinion on, because some people were theorizing that there's supposed to be a few deleted things from this where after, Harry Osborn kills Gwen in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man kills Harry Osborn, and that's what he means by he stopped pulling his punches, because we don't actually see that happen in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. So I think that's a big possibility, and also why he's so silent in, the next scene where Ned asks, did you have a best friend, and all of that kind of stuff. And I think that I just a theory. Obviously, there's no confirmation of that or anything, but I think it's an interesting one. That
I would probably disagree. I don't know if we're supposed to assume he is killing people. Obviously, Peter can if he doesn't pull his punches, but I just think he's just being more brutal. Maybe like Batman-esque, leaving them hanging on by a thread at times. That's what I imagine, and that he's kind of sick about that because I feel like if he was going to kill Harry, it would have been in Amazing Spider-Man 2. Like if we're thinking, for me, I feel like the most upset he would be right after it happened.
Right.
But instead, Harry gets caught and he's shown in prison in the end credit scene. And then he takes a break for Spider-Man for months before he comes back, and he's usually his normal self, where he takes down Rhino. So it does seem a little weird that he started not pulling his punches.
Mm-hmm.
But I would assume it had been sometime after he came back from that break. But I'm not sure if he ever went as far as killing somebody, because he's I'd like to not think that he killed somebody.
That's fair.
Especially with how jokey he is in this movie. It'd be kind of a little weird to be like,
yeah.
I'm joking around with your friends, but I also killed a bunch of people. But yeah, they decide they're going to cure the heroes, because he now learns that Uncle Ben said to both of them, with great power comes great responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And, he's at first like, how'd you guys know that? And I want to get your take on this. Is this the first time Peter's heard? Because he says to Aunt May, I know, which makes me think that his Uncle Ben said it before to him, but I'm not really sure.
I can't think of a time where it's said to him in any of the MCU films. So I
right, but like his reaction to her saying that is not like, oh, that's profound. He just says, I know. So it does seem weird.
I wonder if it's something that, she just says in general, because,
Maybe.
her entire job is like helping people and realizing, I have the power to do things. So yeah.
Maybe she said that when she found out that he was Spider-Man.
Maybe. Yeah. So
and she's saying it again here, and he's like, yes, I know. Like,
yeah. Or maybe it's just like, the other thing is maybe it's just like, because he's worried for her safety. So he's just like, yeah.
Yeah, true.
I agree,
true,
right?
Yeah, it could be that, yeah. Interesting. But we get into the school labs here, which is some great Peter scenes here. We have Garfield taking the lizard cure. He's like, I already done this once, I'll do it again. Toby says he's going to take the goblin cure because we have to cure all of them, right? He's really trying to tell Peter, we got to cure them all. We're not just doing everybody else and then like killing this one. And then Peter's going to work on the others. This is where we get Ned asking about Toby's best friend. And I love Toby's delivery here though too. He died in my arms after trying to kill me. And he's just like, so sad, as he's like tragic or whatever, as he's like doing his dropping in there, and he's just like so straight faced about it, and Ned's just like
it was great. There's so much in this scene. Oh man.
Yeah, we get Andrew and Toby talking about their love lives.
Mm-hmm.
And Toby's Peter alludes to that him and MJ are working it out. They figured a way to work it out, and that was great. Because I forget where Spider-Man 3 left it. But that one didn't have a good ending like for a trip. Like, they were originally going to make a Spider-Man 4, and then it didn't happen, and then they made Amazing Spider-Man instead. So I feel like it didn't have a super great ending.
Yeah, I it's been a while since I've seen
I just
Spider-Man
watched
3,
it too.
so but yeah, I don't remember them leaving on great terms in general because
I think he was starting to build the relationship back up after he did that whole Gwen Stacy thing. I think that's where they left off at. I think he went back into the jazz bar.
Yep.
I think that might be where it was. So getting resolution there was nice. And then, Andrew saying he doesn't have time for Peter stuff right now. He's still doing a lot of Spider-Man stuff.
Which fits in really well with one of the major themes of this movie, that, you can't live every life individually. You have to, if you want to do something, you've got to go into it. Right. Like, so. Right.
And we get the Spider-Man pointing meme here, but done out of costume. So much so I didn't even recognize it. Like, I heard people saying it, and then I'm like, what? And then when I saw it the second time, I was like, oh, I see what they mean.
Yeah.
But Ned asked for Peter, and they're all, like, pointing at each other, and he's like, no, Peter. No, Peter Parker. And they're like, we're all Peter Parker. I got a good laugh out of people.
That was a great scene. It's perfect. That's another great strength of this movie. It references the memes that like from every type of Spider-Man media,
but not like overtly. Like it's not like in your face.
It's like an extra thing where like if you know these movies, then you're gonna catch them and you're gonna be like, yeah, that's a cool reference or whatever. But if not, then it's just like a funny joke, right? So it's perfect.
Yeah. And then we also get Peter's given his web cartridges, and it's revealed to everyone that Toby's body makes his webs.
I was so hoping for this scene. Like, as soon as I heard the rumors of all three of them being in this, I was like, if that's not a scene, that they've missed out on a massive opportunity. It had to be done because correct me if I'm wrong, but that's not comic accurate at all.
No,
like, that's just something different that Sam Raimi was like, you know what? We're going to be different. And
yeah. So, it's funny. It's all the people that really love Tobey Spider-Man movies the miss and say how much comic accurate he is.
Yeah. Not quite.
There's some things. As a kid, it confused me because I know in the cartoon he had web cartridges. And then I'm like, wait, so which one is accurate? Because this one I was like always confused. We get to the Statue of Liberty. So Peter calls JJ and shows he's at the Statue of Liberty with the box to try to entice the villains there. And I love J.K. Simmons as J.J. Jameson because you get this beautiful scene where he's like, he admits it. And then when he says he's at the Statue of Liberty, he's about to destroy another national monument. Like,
it's fantastic. It really is
good. And we get some great pre-fight conversations with the Spider-Men. Like, this is probably my favorite scene.
It was great, yeah.
We get do your web shoot out of anywhere else, which is so funny. And he's like, we're not talking about this. It's like, no, we're just interested because we don't have that. Like, we want to know. We get what's the weirdest, coolest villain you fought, where Toby says the black alien goo. Tom says he fought a purple alien in space. We get Toby saying, I'm still thinking about how you fought an alien in space. Like, you went into space. And we get Andrew Garfield saying he's lame. He never fought an alien. He fought a Russian dude in a mech rhino suit.
And that actually brings one of the references that went over my head the first time when I saw it, but then reflected on it, and I was like, oh, that's cool. When Toby is like saying, you're amazing.
Yeah, amazing Spider-Man. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's
and he says it like 3 times. He's like, thanks, I needed to hear that. Can you say it again? Like, yeah. And I also love too this moment with just before that too, when we get this moment with Peter 1 and Peter 3, right? No, Peter 2 and Peter 3.
Yep.
Toby and Andrew, when Andrew's like, Max was like the nicest guy until he ended up falling in this like vat of electric eels, and Toby's just like, that'll do it. Like, you're just so experienced with these crazy supervillain origins that they're just like, yeah, it sounds right.
Yep.
And then all the Spider-Men get there. The villains start appearing. Do we get the swinging scene now, or is it when they become a team that they do that? It's when they become a team, right?
Yeah, it's
that's what I thought.
Yep.
So at first they try taking all these on at once, and they're failing. They're sucking. They're doing awful. And then we get. We also did get the Toby reference to his back, with his back needing cracked.
Oh,
and and also when he says about the mental block he had with the webs.
Yep.
He's like, existential crisis, whatever. Like, it was just so filled with so many great things. So then they're failing, and they all meet up, and they're like, we got to do this one at a time. All three of us just, distracting other ones, then getting the thing to each person, trust your spider sense, all this kind of stuff. And they don't know how to work as a team, except for Tom Holland, Peter Parker. He says he doesn't want to brag, but he was in the Avengers. And Toby's just like, that's great. What is that? It's wonderful to think that they don't have that. We've never seen them have those heroes. It's literally just those Spider-Men in their universe so far. They don't know what the Avengers are. And I love that they gave Tom Holland something to teach them. This is where it kind of stops it from being about everybody else too. Like he's not only going through this journey of learning from them, but he teaches them something. They don't know how to be a team. He teaches them how to be a team. All right, we're going to listen to each other. We're going to listen to our spider senses, trust that, and we're going to take them one at a time. And I love their code names of Peter 1, Peter 2, and Andrew just so resigned of Peter 3 is who he is. And at first they were all kind of confused about which Peter was which, and then you get that great scene in the moonlight with all three of them swinging and landing on the Statue of Liberty. I can't wait till that comes out so I can have that as like a background on something.
Oh, it's so good. That scene
really
is just
good.
It's the score behind it as well as it's happening. It's a perfect scene. And there's also a part where they like swing off of each other too. A little bit, which is it just shows like, they're in sync. They're in sync then. And the landing as well, just the iconic Spider-Man landing too.
And them landing 1, 2, 3, like the first Spider-Man, Toby to Andrew, with then Tom in the center. Is beautiful.
And then we finally find out who hits the lizard.
Yes, which one was it?
It was Andrew. That's
what I thought. Okay.
Yep.
And we get Sandman is up first. So they're going to get Sandman. You get this great thing where Lizard's facing Andrew. Even when Andrew first faces off against Electro, and he's like, "Hey, Max, nice to see you again. Miss me?" And all that kind of like, just shows how great Andrew Garfield was in the role. And then, you get everything, working out beautifully where they get it to, he's getting filled up with sand, Toby is, and he gets tossed the thing that the cure does it. And actually, did you know that Thomas Hayden Church was not able to film this? This is a scene from Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, it's just his scene where he transforms in reverse.
Yes, and it works great.
Yeah, I didn't realize that until I found that out afterwards.
Me too.
So I was a little disappointed at first because I was like, I would have liked to see more of him.
That's why him and Reese Ifans are in CG the whole time. Yeah.
Yep.
Because they weren't available because of COVID or something. Schedule or COVID.
It makes sense, but at the same time, like I didn't notice it until afterwards. Like I was shocked when I got home and I was like, wow, you could have fooled me.
Right. Yeah. And then we get, so we get them first, and we get what? Lizard's third. We get Electro second.
Yep.
Right. And Doc Ock comes in, and you're thinking, he's turned on them again. But he actually tricks Electro and takes the arc reactor off of him.
Yep.
And then we're able to get the cure for Max. And we get this great scene with Andrew Garfield and Max. You know, you're never a nobody, you know, and Max saying that he thought with him saving poor people and being in Queens that he was a black guy, you know, and you get Andrew. I love Andrew apologizing. He's apologizing for something he can't even control. I'm sorry, you know. And then, you know, there's got to be Spider-Man somewhere, right? Which is obviously a reference to Miles. And you know, and then you get him saying like "damn eels" or something.
Yeah. I think like it's also just really profound because, like, you know, that's part of the reason why Spider-Man was made in like a full body costume and didn't reveal his identity was because Stan Lee was like, you know, anyone should be able to think of themselves as Spider-Man in this universe, right? So I think it's a great point to kind of get that across. And also we get, I can't remember if it was here or earlier, but Electro and Sandman kind of saying, yeah, you got to be careful what you fall into or whatever.
Yeah. We get and then we get Doctor Strange coming back.
Yep.
And you know, Ned says, wait, you're you know, it's working. And that's when we get MJ throwing the cure to Tom for the lizard. And now we've cured 4 of the 5, and then Goblin comes in.
Yep.
And I like it too. Toby's the first one that hears Goblin. You can, like, they focus on Toby hearing Goblin first. I think that's really funny. And then we get, you know, Goblin takes the thing from Strange, puts a bomb in it because he knows that they're going to try to get it back, I guess. And it just blows up, and now they have no way of sending them back home. And we get the shield falling due to the explosion. It knocks off some of the scaffolding, and MJ starts falling.
Mm-hmm.
And I love this. Tom trying to save her and getting hit by the glider, and then Andrew leaping into action, making up for not being able to save Gwen. And this is the part that I cried at in my first showing, tearing up because of Andrew. Like, I was tearing up because Andrew was tearing up. And the way he played this was just so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, her being like, are you okay? You know, after he asked if she's okay. And he's just like, yeah. Like he made up for it. And it gives closure to Andrew Garfield Spider-Man now that, you know, people are asking for Amazing Spider-Man 3 now and all that. And I just don't know if that would ever happen.
No.
I hope it doesn't, because these, like, maybe we'll see him again, maybe we won't. But I do like that they gave these people the closures they deserved. Toby didn't really get closure that well. Andrew didn't get closure that well. They're getting the closure now that if you were to just watch Toby's 3 or Andrew's 2 and then watch this movie, you have an arc.
Yeah. That reminds me of something, because before Goblin shows up and blows up everything, we get another callback to Spider-Man 2. Because you know, you
oh yes, this was at this point.
Doc Ock sees Toby's Spider-Man, and he comes up and he's like, Otto, and he's like, how are you doing? And then Peter's like, trying to do better, which is a reference to Spider-Man 2 when Otto recognizes him as Connors' student and says that he's brilliant but lazy, and Toby responds that he's trying to do better.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's another really well integrated callback.
Yes, yeah. And even again, here with the power of the sun in my hand, you know,
when he takes the arc reactor,
the arc reactor, he you know, is holding a really stable version of the power of the sun in his hand. Now we get to the point of them landing in the shield, Peter versus Goblin, and he is just relentless here. I love this. He picks him up and throws him down. He's just punch. Like, it is brutal. And then he actually picks up the glider and he's going to finish him off before Toby jumps in front of it, holds it up, and just stares him down. That's not what we do. We're here to cure everything. We're here to cure that ass, as Ned would say.
Yep.
And then we have Goblin stabbing Toby, which got a huge response the second time. Shocked gasps.
Yes.
The first time I saw it, I thought maybe they were killing him off, but I'm glad they didn't.
I thought they were for a second as well.
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't. I was like, oh, that could really upset some people if they killed him off here. And the spell starts cracking open even more, right? More people are starting to come through. We actually see silhouettes of some of them. I'm not sure if you caught this, but we see Rhino, Black Cat, Craven, Scorpion. Like, we see people, comic accurate characters up there starting to come through. But I also just love some of the lines that Goblin says throughout the whole movie of, strong to have whatever you want, but too weak to take it and stuff. Like, all that kind of stuff is just great Goblin lines. And the way he's just laughing here as he's getting his his face pummeled, like, is just wonderful, because he probably knows he can't really stop him, right? Like, he's hoping, I guess, that Peter kills him and breaks him. He's trying to break Peter throughout this whole thing. Then we get Andrew throwing the cure to Tom, and Tom stabbing him, and they actually do cure him. And Peter goes over to Strange and says, what if they all forget about Peter Parker as a whole? And would that work? And Strange says, yes, it would work, but I like the way Strange slips up here. All the people that love you, we would not remember you. And then him again telling him, call me Steven, instead of Sir.
Yep.
And him saying his goodbyes to the two Spider-Men, him saying and I love that he hugs them.
Yeah.
And then him saying his goodbyes to Ned and MJ and giving MJ a real going away kiss here. And we kind of get what people are saying might be the next Cap and Carter Peggy moment here with the dance, as we get her saying I love you, and as he's trying to say it back, she says, tell me the next time you see me. So is that going to be a thread here when sometime later he will tell her, that he will get a chance to tell her or not? We'll find out. But the spell works, and we kind of flash to Statue of Liberty without the shield, but it is copper again, so it is renovated. And we get, it's around Christmas time, it's snowing, and Peter is walking with his notes. He's going to tell MJ and Ned what's going on. He said he promised he would find them again to tell them who he was. And he goes in there and he realizes they both got into MIT. They're having a good time. I mean, and I maybe I'm reading too much into it, but when she moves her hair back and you see the bandage, and she, he asks if she's okay, and she says it doesn't hurt anymore. I feel like it's like saying to Peter, like, it doesn't hurt anymore, like, because he's out of her life. Like, she's not going to be in harm's way because he's no longer there. And he's going to tell her, and he decides not to, and he just says he'll see her around. And we even get a bit where he goes to a new apartment. Rent is due. I really thought maybe we were going to get Mr. Dickovich here from Spider-Man 2 and 3. And then we see the sewing machine, and we see him in this suit is so great, by the way. It is my favorite part of the movie, I think. And we see him gliding on the snow, like doing a little slide on the snow, then jumping up, doing some web slinging, and then falling into the camera. Is beautiful. What did you think of all this ending here with the spell and him being on his own?
Perfect. it was the perfect ending, really. And one thing that I caught afterwards when people were talking about it, MJ's still wearing the Black Dahlia necklace.
Yes, yeah.
The broken one. She has no idea why she's wearing it, but she's still wearing it. So I think that's pretty interesting. And I also love the mug or the cup that he gets with the coffee in it, and how when he jumps out of the window in the suit, it focuses in on that. The "we're happy to serve you" cup.
Yeah.
It's just perfect. It shows exactly who Spider-Man is. He is a servant of the people. Like he's going to be out there and helping everyone. So I think that was just a beautiful little moment there. That was just yeah. I mean I cried at the ending as well. Like when I realized he wasn't going to tell them who he was. And at first I was like, oh, dang, no more Ned or MJ. And then as I thought about it, I was like, but it's perfect. Like it makes all of the other movies better. It was like a backwards cycle of getting to the starting point.
Mm-hmm.
It gives all of the background of Spider-Man in general, of this iteration of Peter Parker and Spider-Man, and shows where he's coming from. And, you know, it's really perfect. This ending makes Homecoming and Far From Home infinitely better, really.
Yes, it does. These three movies are his origin now. And I'm glad he didn't. I'm glad the spell worked. As hokey as it can be, of like, oh, they hit a reset or whatever. Some people, like my mom, was upset that they don't remember because she's like, now he's really alone. And I'm like, yeah, he's alone. That's great. Like that's Spider-Man. He has to juggle, and now when whoever he tells he is Spider-Man to next means a lot more because he knows what he knows he's putting them in danger.
Right.
In this, it was all fun and games before this, where he's telling people without really worried about how in danger they could be. The next person he tells, well, it'll mean a lot because he'll know I need to tell this person, though it will put them in danger. And we'll see, is it MJ later on, or is it a Gwen? Is it Felicia? Who is it that is the next love interest? We don't know. But, having him be poor, people don't remember him, so he can't rely on, like, Pepper Potts. He can't rely on Happy with money. He has to do his own thing now, and it really is setting him up for a more regular Spider-Man story going forward, but yet everybody still knows Spider-Man. So, I saw some people saying, well, then, how does that mean he won't ever interact with the Avengers again? No, the Avengers still know who Spider-Man is. They just don't know it's Peter Parker.
Right.
So they remember saving the world with him and everything. I'm sure if he goes up to Strange in his Spider-Man stuff, he'll know it's Spider-Man, but he won't know it's Peter, which I think is good. I'm glad he has his secret identity back because the MCU doesn't use secret identities all that much.
Right. Yeah, I don't think there's... I mean, now I think it's just Spider-Man who has...
And Matt Murdock, because...
But he hasn't been introduced into the wider universe as Daredevil yet, unless the Netflix series is completely...
Right. Yeah, but I mean, like, in the sense of him catching the brick, he does have his powers, so he probably is doing Daredevil stuff, but nobody knows it's him.
Right.
So he would have a secret identity. Spider-Man would have a secret identity, and I think that's it.
Yeah, I really can't think of any other heroes with secret identities. I'm thinking as far through the series as I can, but
yeah,
no, it's. So I think that makes this version of Spider-Man in the MCU a more unique character just because of that.
Yeah, so I'm really glad that they gave him that back. And then we get the end credit scenes. Let's talk about them a bit. We get Venom.
Yep.
Wasn't a big fan of this scene, honestly. But we do get, at the end of Venom, he was in the MCU. At the end of this movie, he goes back to his universe, but leaving a piece of symbiote behind. And I really like that because not a big fan of the Venom movies. So if we're going to get regular Venom in this universe, or at least the black suit in this universe, I'm glad it just leaves a little bit of the symbiote behind, and that's it. We don't have to see Tom Hardy Venom or anything.
I think it's perfect that way. He can stay in Sony's little universe of things that they're building up over there. But yeah, I think it's I was confused at first, like, you know, I was like, oh, okay, so it's Venom, but where was he during this all? And then I'm like, oh, okay, he doesn't get a chance to do anything. But I'm interested to see who the symbiote will latch onto. You know, that little bit left.
I'm hoping it latches on to kind of Tom first, Peter first, and then going on to maybe this universe, Eddie Brock or something. Kind of like a Spider-Man 3 type thing, but done better. Maybe an actual black suit with the white logo instead of just black with the black.
Yeah.
Like it is in the Raimi ones. And then we get the end credit scenes. The last scene is actually more of a trailer, a Doctor Strange trailer. You're our resident Doctor Strange fan. What did you make of, one, his appearance in this movie? How was he? But also then this end credit scene.
Well, in this movie, I think he was used like the perfect amount, really. Because, you know, I was kind of concerned a little bit that he would be kind of taking on the Iron Man role that Iron Man or other characters have had in the other Holland movies, where like he's more of like a mentor, like guiding him through, helping him. But no, he's like there at the beginning, he's there at the end. He doesn't really help get him out of situations, and there's actual consequences for him like needing Strange's help as well. So I think he's used like the perfect amount. It gives us a little bit more Strange character development. You know, we see a bit of a more fun and loose side of Strange, as opposed to like, you know, what we get in Infinity War and Endgame, right? Where there's like this very strict, unbending kind of Doctor Strange. So I think that's really well done in this. And that trailer at the end, oh, I'm so excited for Multiverse of Madness. I'm really excited for it. Just like showing the comic accurate characters and everything, you know, the comic accurate Scarlet Witch costume. We're seeing, I'm not sure if it's actually going to be him, but looks like Strange Supreme from What If in that. And if so, I am so down for that, because that was awesome in What If. So I think it would be awesome to actually have that then be shown, like how it connects to the wider MCU, because, you know, you can kind of see it here and there in What If, but it's not like fully explained at any point. We just know like these are universes that exist alongside of whatever the timeline for the MCU is. Like, isn't it like Earth 199999999? Yeah, like something like that. But you know, but if that is Strange Supreme, then that sets up so much exciting stuff for this. I can't wait to see where this goes, and especially with the reshoots apparently being about like adding in cameos and stuff, since people were hyped up about all of the ones in Spider-Man. I can't wait to see who they, you know, who is going to be making appearances, and, you know, who gets introduced as well, because, you know, if they can introduce a few characters in there alongside it, that would be pretty exciting. So I'm just super excited for this movie. I think it's going to be fantastic, and you know, I just like Doctor Strange content, so that's that will be great.
I'm a little apprehensive about this movie. I don't think the trailer really showed me enough to make me really excited. I am worried about the cameo stuff. I don't want them to go too overboard with it.
That is a concern, yes.
That is a concern of mine, because while they handled this stuff very well, if there really are just cameos, I don't want them to be overboard with them. I really want this film. And, there was a comment Benedict Cumberbatch made on a podcast or something that got me worried too about how he didn't. Yeah, something about like maybe like that he wasn't given as much to do in this movie, which is strange because it's his movie. Like I hope that just like the way they kept it focused on Tom Holland for this one, they keep a focus on him, and I don't want it to go overboard with that. So I'm a little worried about it. I wonder if when they released this trailer that was at the end, if to fans, if they're going to release it soon and if they're going to put more stuff in it, because we'd actually like the title card, we would need stuff like that.
Right.
Or if this is going to just be what we get until whenever they release a real trailer for it. I don't know.
Yeah,
COVID has kind of shortened some of these marketing times a lot.
Yeah, I think like as far as like that Benedict Cumberbatch comment goes, I wonder if it's just to like kind of throw people off on it, and just because he doesn't want anything to get out about anything with it,
maybe.
And it could just be trying to a red herring. It could just be as simple as that. But I'm hopeful for it, and honestly,
I don't think it is Strange Supreme. I think it would be kind of weird if it was, because he seemed to have learned his lesson. So if he was evil again, it'd be kind of weird. But yeah,
we know from this movie that the multiverse pulls people in from not necessarily at the point where we last saw them.
That's true.
So it could pull him in like right as he's about to like absorb Strange himself in What If. It could be right before that. And so
that's true.
I'm curious to see if it is, because the thing that throws me off is he doesn't have like the longer cape, really.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think I also don't think it is quite him, but
I think it might just be another evil Strange or something.
Yeah. I mean, if it is, I'll be happy. If not, I'll still be happy, because I'm sure because I know Marvel will find a good way to make it work. So
yeah, what'd you think of the Hawkeye Pym arrow too? I want to ask you about that.
Oh yeah. Oh, that was so cool.
I was like, man, Jack is eating really well this year.
Yeah, there's so much good stuff,
Strange stuff this year.
Yeah, I'm really hoping. I want to see more Ant-Man. I can't wait for Quantumania, or as the poster looks like, Umu.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Yeah,
like
that poster is a graphical design nightmare, or a title card, whatever. Whatever.
Look, it was on the clapboard. Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't look like good graphic design, but I'm still excited for that. And we've gotten some good implementations of those characters into animated projects and some live action for Doctor Strange. But I'm just excited to see what happens next with Multiverse of Madness, because if they're doing reshoots, I think that it'll be for a good reason. It just
wrapped up too. They just wrapped it up.
It'll be for a good reason, because Marvel wouldn't. I feel like Marvel know at this point that
what people want.
They know what people want, and they know that the hardcore fans of this, if these are just cameos that are just thrown in there, they know that the fans will know, right? So I feel like the fact that it was described as significant reshoots kind of tells me that it's going to be more than just like quick appearances or something. Like it will be like a new scene or something that has that sort of thing. But I'm very interested and intrigued to see what happens with it, and I do hope we get a more extended trailer. I'm just excited for it.
Yeah, and that's the next film we get. Is Multiverse of Madness, and then July is Thor, and then Black Panther is supposed to be November. But we've heard some stuff about how that's been having some problems filming with Letitia Wright being injured. So Quantumania and the Marvels have both wrapped production. So maybe those could be moved up if something happens with Black Panther. I don't really want them to rush this, after already losing Chadwick Boseman. This Black Panther franchise is on the line here, honestly, I think.
Yeah.
If this is not a success, I don't know if they go through with the Black Panther 3. They would probably just wrap them in with Avengers or something. But, that'd be a shame. So don't rush it if you don't need to, make sure it's going the way you need it to go. And if a movie is already done, just kind of bump it up is what I would do and give Black Panther more time. But yeah, I think we might get Moon Knight in February.
Okay.
It hasn't been announced, but it's supposed to be announced by the end of the year when the 2022 Marvel stuff looks like. So if we get Moon Knight in February, that'd be great. We have Hawkeye finale this Wednesday, and then we get a little bit of a break. We might have Jack back on to build your own MCU trilogy and also just talking about the best MCU trilogy. Have you on? Yeah. We can discuss all that good stuff.
Yeah. There's a lot of good ones out there.
Yeah, and by build your own, I mean take 3 movies that have a running plot line and make your own trilogy type of thing, like a Build-A-Bear. You can email us your thoughts at marvelplusrecaps@gmail.com. Reach us on Twitter at TOInfinitySaga, or reach us on Facebook, facebook.com/InfinitySagaBeyond. Any last thoughts on Spider-Man for you, Jack?
I mean, I'm looking forward to going back to see it in theaters again, and probably again. I feel like this movie is that kind of movie where the more you watch it, the more you're going to notice every time.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't wait to go back and see what I notice again. Honestly, I really think that there's a reason why this is in my top 3 MCU movies. Because what's the other two? The other two for me are Captain America, the Winter and the Winter Soldier. And then we've got Captain America Civil War. Those are my other 2 favorites. Really like the political intrigue behind that because it's kind of what I do for work. So it works out well. But yeah, I mean, this one is just so fantastic. Everything goes perfectly in it. I said at the beginning, it not only met every expectation, it exceeded them. I think it's going to be a long time before any Marvel movie gets as much hype and does exactly what No Way Home did.
Mm-hmm.
So, while you can, while it's in theaters, make sure to cherish it, catch it in theaters if you can, because this is the kind of thing that just works so much better in theaters. And actually, if you haven't seen it, what are you doing watching this? You definitely shouldn't have.
Seriously, you just got spoiled everything here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait till this is on Blu-ray, so I can just watch it over and over again.
Oh yeah.
And I'm probably gonna go see it 1, maybe 2 more times in theaters. We'll see. Because I was going to try to go see West Side Story or The Matrix this week as well. But no, I'd rather go see Spider-Man another time, I think. So that's probably what I'm going to do. Just to be able to be with fans who haven't seen it before and see their reactions and, just see it on like an IMAX screen or something, the most movie I've ever seen in theaters is Last Jedi 5 times. I don't think I'm going to be able to get to this 5 to 6 times. But maybe in a regular year I would. But yeah, this movie deserves it. It deserves all the love, deserves all the praise. I'm glad that people that don't even like MCU Spider-Man have liked this movie. They love the way it ended with Tom on his own and wearing a new suit and being poor and all that kind of great stuff. We even got an Iron Man Jr. reference in this, if you notice, on the Time magazine or whatever, with a crying baby dressed as Spider-Man. Just a lot of fun. And, this is not the last time I'll talk about it on the show. This Tuesday, I have another episode with Logan talking more of this. probably not going to go beat by beat. We're probably just going to talk more broad stuff because I feel like you don't need 2 episodes that are going beat by beat with this stuff. But it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to talk about this movie for a while. Thank you for listening to the show if you made it this far. And I hope everyone has a great holiday season. And we'll catch you next time.